What's up, everybody out there? How you doing? Oh, welcome back to another episode of Peppy's Point of View. And I'm your favorite host, your favorite R&B historian, your favorite music critic, Peppy. And as you know, the month of February is Black History Month or Black Heritage Month, however you want to call it. But today we are celebrating. And I decided to celebrate it by looking up a list of top Black female albums of all time. Guys, guess what? Excuse me, guys and gals. Guess what? If you have looked or rather listened to the other albums I have did my critique on, then you would know by now that I kind of have, well, not stayed with this list that I initially started out with. And hey, it's cool. It's what it is. I vibe like that over here. Sometimes, I put an intent out there and I just have to go with the flow. And where I'm going with the flow is that I'm finding that some things are bobbing to the surface, just coming to me. And I'm like, I need to cover that. Okay. And for me, it's all about a feel. And right now, I'm just doing what I feel. It's just what it is. And so I decided I wanted to listen to some Kelly Price. That's right. So today in the office, I took some time out after I listened to my gospel music, and I might cover this album as well because I love Aretha Franklin's album Amazing Grace. You know what? I might just cover that album because I'm here to tell you I love Aretha Franklin's Amazing Grace, and I listen to that album every morning. I do. I have a good set routine in the morning, and Amazing Grace is that album. I'm here to tell you. I think I'm going to cover that album. But anyway, so I have kind of deviated away from that. But you know what? I think I still will cover those albums that are on the list. And, sometimes, when we're talking about these lists and things like that, sometimes people are not happy about um, people, talking about the top so and so this and the top so and so that. And for the most part, some of those lists, I have to tell you, it's not about talent. It's not about the best album. To me, it's just pretty much about who's hot and who's not at the time, right? I mean, let's just be honest. Let's just call a thing a thing. And it's pretty much what it is. You guys already know, if you watch the other videos, how I felt about the top 50 list that I was looking at, and to discover that In Vogue's Funky Divas album, that breakthrough album that was released in 1992, did not make this list. Okay, and I'm like, huh? Something is wrong. But anyway, I did cover that album. So if you have not checked it out, check it. If you haven't listened to it, I'm sorry, then go ahead on and just go ahead on over there and listen to it, okay? Sometimes, we want to leave the links down below the video, so on and so forth, but to make it convenient for you guys, but it is a playlist. So this is a playlist, you guys. So all you have to do if you just want to listen to all of these videos, just click on one of these videos in the playlist and, hey, listen up. It is what it is. All right, Kelly Price, we're going to dive right into this album that I listened to for the first time today. A big fan of it, Kelly Price, and I have to tell you, I've never owned a Kelly Price album, but I'm a fan of Kelly Price. The only song I've ever owned of Kelly Price would be her "Friend of Mine" single. All right. And so now going into Kelly Price, listening to her catalog, I'm telling y'all, Kelly Price is I can't say that word over here. She's all of that. She's all of that. She is definitely my favorite diva of some of the divas that are out right now. But anyway, let's just go ahead on and dive right into it. I want to stay kind of focused. It seems like I'm probably about to get off track, and I don't want to do that. So this particular commentary is going to be a mixture of Kelly Price's previous commentary I did for her debut album and for Mirror Mirror. Now, let me pick up where I left off with the Mirror Mirror commentary. If you guys remember, I was saying about Kelly Price, the thing that kind of made me not as interested in Kelly Price as I should have been was pretty much all of the hoopla over her weight when she first came out. That's all they talked about. Oh, it's her weight. She was number one and she hadn't been seen. You know, she had the number one song out, you know, in the country. Nobody had seen her, so on and so forth, blah, blah, blah. And then when they finally, you know, do see her, you know, she's number one, but you see her and she's the, you know, the singer that, you know, she's the overweight singer, right? And so now she's in having her interviews, so on and so forth, and everything is about her weight. Nothing is pretty much about the music. And if it is about the music, and excuse my language, it's like saying, you know what? Well, you know what? The heifer can sing. I hate to say it like that, but they tried so much not to make it about her weight until it became so much about her weight. And that's the thing that kind of just turned me off from really getting into Kelly Price, if you will. And I can imagine, like I said, about, like with Jennifer Holliday, right? Same thing with Jennifer Holliday. She comes out, she has this weight, so on and so forth, and you know the weight is an issue for her. For her, you know, they're not shooting videos because of her weight. You know, just all these kinds of things that these hurdles that Jennifer Holliday had to jump over because of her weight, so on and so forth. And she could have possibly been a bigger singer, if you will, but it's the weight. And it's the same thing with Kelly Price, you know. And so, as I said, it turned me off. That was the only thing uh, that I didn't get into when we were talking about when Kelly Price came, you know, when she's now center stage or she has moved from the background to the foreground, right? So anyway, it was pretty much that. Listening to that first album, I'm saying to myself, like, oh my gosh, this is Bad Boy. Like, I'm like, Kelly Price should have been a Bad Boy artist because that first album gave me Bad Boy. I'm not going to go into the details about that album because we're talking about Priceless over here, but just to give you guys some kind of idea of where I'm going with this is that we know this lady can do her thing. We know she can sing, she can write. I mean, she's just pretty much top notch. Okay. Like I know a lot of people talk about Faith Evans when it comes to, you know, Divas in the time frame that Kelly Price came out. And uh Faith Evans, you know, she is a great singer, songwriter, and producer, but so is Kelly Price as well. But anyway, and so that's pretty much it at the end of the day with Kelly Price. And as I said, it was definitely for me a Bad Boy album. Okay. And of course, I liked every song on that album. Don't Say Goodbye. I like that song. Uh Kiss Test, Soul of a Woman, You Complete Me, Her, I Love Her. If I had a favorite song on the first album, it would be Her, and then Take Me to a Dream. And so there it is with the first album. I like it. Okay. Then we get to Kelly Price, Mirror, Mirror. Okay. And again, I think Kelly Price is better, but because of the beginning, she's trying to prove something, and now she's now that she's been seen more. So that's where I get with her now. I think at this moment in time, for her second album, I think she's really trying to prove something. I don't think she was trying to prove anything on the first album. I just don't. That's just my opinion, how I'm listening to it. I don't. I think with the second album, what she's obviously has lost weight. Weight is still an issue, right? And I give you a prime example. This is coming in the top of my head, you guys, so I just have to go with the flow. I give you a prime example. Angie Stone. Something that turned me off from just really following Angie Stone, even though I like her as a songwriter and a producer and all of that stuff. But the thing that turned me off is that every time she talked about anything she talked about with her new album, it was always D'Angelo, how they just did her so wrong with D'Angelo, right? And I'm obviously, whatever that word was, it was a betrayal to her. It was hurtful, so on and so forth. But sometimes the story, even though it could put you in, a good place as far as in the public's eye, and you could probably get more clout with that, sell more records or sell whatever product you're trying to sell. People love a story. It's the same thing with Tina Turner. Tina Turner, God rest her soul, left this world and pretty much was saying, but the story, I didn't want to tell that story. People made me tell the story. I didn't want to tell the story. And the next thing I know, the story has the story has grown legs, so on and so forth, and it became bigger than it needed to be, right? So it's the same thing as I said before with Kelly Price. And so with this album, her second album, Mirror Mirror, she's toned down, right? She's lost some weight and now, but it's still about the weight. It still is. It's still about the weight. And some of my favorite songs on that album, Mirror Mirror, Three Strikes. I love Three Strikes. That's it. That is my repeater. Okay. If I had a song on repeat, Three Strikes, Mirror Mirror, Can't Run Away, and The Lullaby. I love the album, and those are my songs, okay, on the album. And as I said before, she done kind of trimmed down things, so on and so forth. So everything is pretty much good and on the up and up with her second album, so to speak. But now we get over here to Priceless. Priceless, yeah. Let's talk about it. First of all, when I heard this, when I got prepared to listen to the album, okay, and for those of you who have followed me now, you know that I always ask myself the question, what am I thinking? What am I feeling before I listen to this album? And while I was excited, definitely excited to get, the third album in over here with Kelly Price, I looked at the number of tracks on this album and I said, no, ma'am. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. What are we doing here? Somebody talk to me. Didn't I just tell y'all? I just absolutely, positively, irreversibly. Like when you have all of these songs on an album, I said it before, I said time and time again, somebody's going to have to talk to me and answer this question. Why the need to put so many songs on one album when I know for a fact that I probably will not like that entire album? I'm here to tell you, like, what is the length time of this album? I just don't want to do it. I don't. I come from the time where, if you had a double set album, like that was kind of like a special edition, right? A greatest hits. Maybe you had a lot of songs, a lot of albums out, and you did a double disc set. And that was because, it was like a special edition, like, hey, this is a box set, so to speak, right? But I don't want to hear all of those songs on the album. On one album, I don't. And if you have 18, 19 songs on the album, cut that sucker down to 12 or anywhere between 9 and 12 and save the rest for later. Or if you can't save the rest for later, for the next album, then those are the songs you need to be placing on somebody else's album. I'm from that old school era, right? But there's a pet peeve I have about this new generation of music songwriters and producers, and that is y'all songs are just too short. So that's why I'm not into music now. I'm like, what? Did the song, huh? Did the song end? Like, what? I like the song and the song is over. It's like, oh gosh. But anyway, and so that was the first thing I thought about. I said, it's just way too many songs. I was like, I already know I'm not going to like the album just because of the number of songs on it. And what I mean by I'm not going to like the album, meaning that there are going to be a lot of songs on this album, I'm going to ask myself, it could have been left off. So that's the first thing that comes through my mind, okay, or goes through my mind. So Priceless is the fourth studio album by Kelly Price. It was released by Def Jam Recordings and Def Soul on April 29th, 2003 in the United States. The album peaked at number 2 on the U.S. Billboard Top R&B and Hip Hop Albums chart and number 10 on the Billboard 200. It marked Price's final release from Def Soul. The song again featured a Brazilian influenced acoustic guitar from Eric Clapton. Okay, she got clout. She got Eric Clapton. Okay. Now, the first week sale of the album was 69,000 copies. Not bad. Priceless also became her third album to reach the top 3 on Billboard Top R&B Hip Hop Albums chart, peaking at number 2. All right. Okay, let's go ahead on and get into this. I got a feeling I'm not going to be long with you at all. Overall, I'm just not impressed with this album. I'm sorry, Kelly. But one thing I do appreciate about Kelly Price is that Kelly Price, like when I was did the review for Mirror Mirror, if I recall correctly, I said, Kelly Price, you all in my business, baby. You in my business. Like that album spoke to me. I'm like, she in my business. And with this album, it's like I love the overall theme. I love what she has to say. I do. Like I just love what she has to say. And I love her singing about it. Duh. But let's just go ahead on and go down track by track, pretty much, and let's just see what we have. Typical interlude. I love an interlude. I love an intro. You guys know I love my intros. Okay. I like the kind of gospel type feel of this intro. It gave me church vibes, and of course, you know she is. Is she a PK? I don't think she's a PK. But anyway, of course, Kelly Price, you know, raised in the church, you know, gospel, singing gospel music and gospel choir, so on and so forth. And so when I was uh, listening to her sing this intro, I was like, okay, I was feeling it. I really was. And then, of course, this next song, Someday, it's kind of preaching. You know, it has the message. Okay. And I like that she's sticking to her story. And the story in Someday, I think a lot of her fans can identify with, you know. So, as I said, kind of preachy, but the message is there. I don't know about you guys, but when I got to the third track, You Make Me Feel, I heard, or rather, I can hear Shaka Khan singing this song. This song could definitely have been presented to Shaka Khan. It's just what it is. It's a Shaka Khan, if ever there was a Shaka Khan song. Then, of course, Take It to the Head. Now, when I listen to Take It to the Head, I'm thinking these are like her, if she had bad boy roots. And of course, you know, she was over there for a period of time. So if she had bad boy roots, then this is definitely a song that it's taking her back to her bad boy roots from the first album. As I said before, the first album screams bad boy. And so this song is like, all right, I hear you, bad boy. I hear you. Then we get to the song Sister, a song that features Faith Evans. And I get my Heartbreak Hotel vibe with this one. You know, I'm like, okay, this kind of reminds me a little bit of Heartbreak Hotel, you know, with Whitney Houston, Faith Evans, and Kelly Price. And I'm wondering, was this intentional? Or was it just the idea that that's what I just thought about when I heard the song? But it definitely gives me that vibe. So now I get to the song again. So we have track 2, Someday. Track 3, You Make Me Feel. Track 4, Take It to the Head. Track 5, Sister. And track 6, Again. And so far, the only song that I'm really liking, I like Take It to the Head, but I love Sister. Okay. So it's at this point I can say that she has abandoned her signature sound. Like she's toned it down a bit. And I hate to say it, but I'm still waiting for, at this moment in time, the must have single. And so far, it's just not there. Especially when I know track 7 is going to be, an interlude. So it's not a full song for track 7 as I'm looking, at the next song on the album. So I'm saying to myself, like, hey, I have gotten halfway through this album, and so far I do not like what I'm hearing. Like there's no must-have song, which in my mind, I'm saying to myself, as I said before, an album with 19, 18 songs, and some of them you just don't have to have on your album. It's just what it is. Then I get to track 8, Strong Man. And I'm thinking, as I'm listening to it, I'm going to like this song. I mean, it's funky, or it's funkier than the other tracks that I've heard thus far. And then I happen to glance over and I happen to see that it's co-written by Big Jim. And I'm listening to it a tad bit more. And I'm getting my Big Jim and Nesby, Big Jim, Patti LaBelle influence on this track. And I'm saying, okay, if there is a signature sound, then this definitely will be the signature sound, the signature song on Priceless. I think you can definitely uh her fans, her core fans definitely will vibe with this song, Strong Men. Love it. Okay. Then you get to track 9. How does it feel? Well, it feels like she's trying to recapture Friend of Mine, but it feels like it's forced. I'm like, this track is forced. And I get the feel like they're trying to make it sound like Friend of Mine, and it's just coming up short. It's just what it is. Okay. So I had to say, nah, nah. So out of all the songs I've heard, out of 9 songs so far, I'm only liking 2. Sister with Faith Evans and Strong Man. Then we get to track 10, and track 10 is, of course, her first release off this album. He Proposed. I've heard the song before. Let me tell y'all, I was not interested in this song when it came out. I was not interested in the song when it came out because I'm here to tell you, I just don't do well with wedding songs. I got the feel when I first heard this song, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a wedding song to me. Like I just really don't care too much for it. I mean, there are only 2 songs, maybe 3 that I like, and I just kind of like them. Here and Now, which became a wedding song in a roundabout sort of way. I love Here and Now. Another song that could be a wedding song would be In Your Eyes. Tad bit sappy, In Your Eyes by Shirley Murdoch. I'm sorry. Luther Vandross is Here and Now. That's as far as I might go. Okay. Now there's a group out called Pure Soul, a group of 4 ladies that came out back in the day. I'm going to assume somewhere in between 96 and 98 when they came out. And they had a song called We Must Be in Love. And that was kind of like a wedding song, I guess, as well. I was like, I like that a little bit too. But He Proposed, I'm putting it in the same category. And I'm like, oh gosh, not another wedding song. And so as I'm listening to it, I'm like, okay, it will attract new and old female fans because I'm sure females probably, definitely identify with what she was talking about in this song or singing about in this song. But then something happens towards the end of the track. I'm like, I think I just like this song. It went from being in my head just a wedding song to like, no, this is just a good song, Kareem. You just got to give it up to her. It's just a good song, really good song. So I'm like, okay, I like it. And then the next track, So Sweet. Raphael Sadiq is in the house. And I was like, yep, yup, and yup. I love this song. I love So Sweet. If there is a repeater on this album, it will be So Sweet. Love it, love it, love it. So now I've gotten to the point where I'm saying, all right, I got 4 songs. Sister with Faith Evans, Strong Man, He Proposed, and So Sweet. And then I started listening to the rest of the album, and it kind of went the way I thought it was going to go. Yeah, yeah, I just wasn't interested. I think overall, in general, yes, I wasn't interested. I have to say that again because I think people are probably going to say, you didn't like her remake of You Brought the Sunshine? The Clark Sisters legendary song? Nope. You mean to tell me you didn't like Ain't Nobody by Shaka Khan? But I don't think Ain't Nobody made that track. But anyway. But no, I didn't care too much for her version of Ain't Nobody. It's not because of her vocals, it was because of the production. I wish the production would have just pretty much stayed the same as Shaka's production, and I would have liked the song. I just love the production, okay? But anywho, didn't care too much for You Brought the Sunshine either. I just didn't like the production. And so the album to me just goes downhill. I think they toned down this album a lot. There is not that heavy, R&B type feel to this album at all. They just toned it down. I think that that's the part about the entire album that I didn't care too much for. I wish they would have kept it, you know, in the genre of R&B, like old school R&B, like the classic R&B, R&B, R&B. But they didn't. Who knows why they decided not to do it? Maybe they was trying to expand her audience or what have you. And that was the reason why it almost feels like this album is only for her, hardcore fans. And apparently, this album did not do as well as the previous albums, Soul of a Woman or Mirror Mirror. I wonder if it had a lot to do with the fact that it was just kind of toned down, somewhat. And an artist has the right to expand their sound, to change things up, so to speak. They have every right to do that. I think that that's the issue with myself as a music listener. And I told you guys, I've always been upfront with you all about that, is the fact that what I like about what I'm doing now is that I'm actually checking myself, meaning that you don't always have to listen to an album to get that hit song. That's all we're concentrating on. And I know it's the music industry, and they're in the business of selling music, not in the business of making you feel good, so on and so forth. Understood. But I think as far as a creative mind is concerned, uh, and just a fan of music, I think we need to appreciate it more by simply understanding or trying to understand what the artist was trying to do and what the artist was trying to say. And I think if we go into that objectively and then we come up with a critique of it, I think it's safe to, have your opinion about, have your opinion about, have your opinion either way, good or bad. But when it comes down to saying if something was just good, or excuse me, if it was just a hit or a miss, I think, we need to look and go deeper than that. Yeah. So it is what it is. But the album is definitely a must have. It's definitely an album I think that you can put in your let's say in rotation. I was about to say put, I don't know. I was thinking old school thoughts just right then and there about how you could play the album. I was about to say CD. But anyway, I think that it's definitely an album that you can hit the play button and go from beginning to the end. So I appreciate that much about the album. I do. Yeah. Well, if you have made it this far in my commentary, I think it's only appropriate for me to say, hey, hang out with me for a while. Hit the like button, the share button, the subscribe button, leave comments. I'm always open to hearing what you guys have to say, as well as, hey, give me some music to listen to. I promise I'll listen to it and tell you what I think about it. Yes, and my motto over here is simple: put your behind where your heart desires to be. And whenever I leave my mother's presence, she always says to me, baby, remember, I love you, but God loves you best. And you know what? I look forward to seeing you next video. Until then, take care of yourselves. All right.